would you do to get a job? Anything? Almost anything? Well, what about murder? If you could get away with it. That's what we're talking about today, and Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice to explore the dark psychology of unemployment, family obligation, and how far desperation can push an otherwise good person. No Other Choice isn't just a thriller about a man who kills for employment. It's a mirror held up to 2025, showing us the lengths people will go to when economic systems fail them. And here's what makes it terrifying. You'll probably understand why he does it. In the stage of today's world, AI is becoming a massive topic because it's directly impacting everyone's lives. You've probably seen memes where it's like, what we thought 2025 was going to be like with flying cars versus what we got, which is AI-generated fighting cat videos and millions of people losing their jobs. How does this relate to No Other Choice? Well, let's get into it. Lee Byung-hun plays Mansu, a veteran employee of a paper-making company called Solar Paper. The movie starts with him in his childhood home, living with his wife, Miri, played by Son Ye-jin, his teenage stepson, Si-won, and their younger daughter, Ri-won, a neurodivergent cello prodigy. They have 2 dogs, dance classes, tennis games. It's comfortable and it's earned. Mansu has 25 years of experience in the paper industry, and then Solar Paper gets bought out by the Americans. Mansu is among thousands abruptly laid off, and just like that, 25 years of expertise, loyalty, and dedication is gone. He promises his family he'll find another job within 3 months with a stellar resume. Later, we see that Mansu is working a retail job, taking interview after interview, but getting rejected. The family has to cut back on everything, stopping the tennis games and dance classes, gave their dogs to Miri's parents, and Ri-won is devastated. They face foreclosure on Mansu's childhood home. Miri takes a part-time job as a dental assistant to a much younger dentist named Jin-hoo. Mansu begins having a toothache that he ignores despite his wife's pleas. Honestly, I'm not sure why he didn't go to the dentist, but I guess he didn't want to give in to getting help. Especially not from his wife's rich dentist friend. There's some pride there and stubbornness. But as a man, he's watching his ability to provide slowly disintegrate. He seeks out Moon Paper, a rival company, and submits his resume. But he's humiliated by the line manager, Choi Seon-chul, who also doubles as an influencer on social media. Mansu follows him afterward and considers dropping a large pot with a red pepper plant on him. Just considers it, but he doesn't follow through. At least not yet. And now the film starts taking a turn because Mansu makes a choice that on paper seems monstrous. He decides to eliminate his competition for the job he wants. He buys the red pepper plant we saw earlier. He creates a fake job posting for a fictional company called Red Pepper Paper, looking for someone with his exact qualifications. Gets applications from paper industry experts across Korea, desperate people just like him. And he narrows it down to 2 men whose credentials exceed his own, Gu Byung-moo and Ko Si-jo. Then he retrieves his father's gun, who was a Vietnam War veteran, and he begins planning murders. Here's what Park Chan-wook does brilliantly. He doesn't make Mansu into a villain. He makes him pathetic, desperate, and relatable. So Mansu starts surveilling Byung-moo, his first target, and what he discovers is that Byung-moo is, well, just like him. A man who has been unemployed for over a year, dragging himself into oblivion because he can't provide for his wife, Lee Ara, who is a veteran stage actress also struggling to find work. Byung-moo is trying to rekindle his love with his wife, as he's trying to quit drinking and apply for jobs. In other words, he's trying to survive, just like Mansu. While spying on them during a picnic, Mansu is accidentally bitten by a rattlesnake. Ara ends up saving his life. Think about the irony for just a second. The woman whose husband he's planning to murder saves him. But Mansu doesn't stop. He can't stop. Because back home, Miri is suggesting they downsize their lifestyle, pursue another field. And Mansu adamantly refuses. His identity is wrapped up in being a paper industry expert, and being a provider, and being the man of the house. Mansu has invested 25 years in this industry. To walk away now would mean admitting that those years were actually wasted, that he's not the man he thought he was. so he pushes forward. On his next attempt to kill Byung-mo, Mantu discovers Ara having an affair with a younger actor. When Byung-mo comes home, Mantu can't prevent him from discovering the affair, so it all falls apart. In his third attempt, Mantu confronts a drunken Byung-mo at gunpoint. It devolves into a chaotic scuffle between Mantu, Byung-mo, and Ara. Ara takes the gun. Ara shoots Byung-mo herself. Not because she's helping Mantu, but because her own frustrations with her husband have reached a breaking point. She was done with him. Mantu didn't kill his first target, but he enabled the murder. He set the circumstances in motion, and now he's complicit. Next, Mantu targets Ko Shijo. And this is where the film becomes heartbreaking because Mantu visits Shijo, who is working at a shoe store. He has a younger daughter who he loves. He's kind, but he's struggling just like everyone else. And Mantu bonds with him. Then he lures him to a highway and shoots him, hides the body in his trunk. This is the murder Mantu commits with his own hands, not in a moment of chaos or self-defense, but premeditated, calculated, and successful. Meanwhile, Mantu's stepson Siwon and his friend Jeonhu steal iPhones from a storefront and get caught. Mantu and Miri blackmail Jeonhu's father, who has been using the storefront for his own affair, into taking the blame. But then Siwon witnesses Mantu trying to dispose of Sijo's body in their greenhouse. Miri becomes suspicious when detectives come to their house about disappearances. She digs up the apple tree where she finds Shijo's body, and she decides to lie to Siwon about it to comfort her son and protect her husband. And this is where the film asks us, how complicit do we become in protecting the people we love? Mantu's final target is Choi Seon-chul. Mantu travels to his home on the countryside, reconnects with him, and gets him drunk. But the kicker is, Mantu is forced to drink as well to avoid suspicion. So he has to break his own sobriety. And in a moment of drunken, agonized rage, Mantu forcefully removes his own cavity-filled tooth. The toothache he's been ignoring for months, the physical manifestation of his pain, his stubbornness, his refusal to accept help. He rips it out himself. While Mantu is suffocating Seon-chul to death, Miri calls him. She shares vaguely her concerns about Siwon, about what she's found, about the family falling apart. Mantu finishes the murder, stages it to look like Seon-chul drank himself to death, and returns home. Miri greets him coldly. The family knows, or at least they suspect it, and they choose complicity over confrontation. Later, detectives inform Mantu that Byung-mo and Sijo were former colleagues. Ara has given Mantu an alibi to cover up her own involvement in her husband's murder. She told police that Byung-mo had suicidal tendencies, owned the gun, and might have killed Siju to secure a job before killing himself. It's the perfect lie. It lifts all suspicion off Mantu, and he's gotten away with it. Sometime later, Mantu is offered the manager position at Moonpaper, that job that he literally killed for. But here's the devastating irony. Because Moonpaper is fully automating their factory, they've let go of all of their workers. Mantu is in charge of overseeing the machines, making sure they function properly, and he's not even assured the job will be kept if the trial run succeeds. So just let that sink in, because Mantu murdered 3 people. Well, 2 directly and 1 by proxy to secure a job that might not even exist in 6 months. He sold his soul for a position of managing robots that replaced human workers. This is where the film becomes a perfect mirror of 2025. In today's world, AI and automation are doing exactly what happened in No Other Choice. Companies are cutting labor costs, replacing humans with machines, and keeping 1 or 2 people to manage the automation. Mantu isn't just a manager, he's the last human standing in a factory that doesn't need humans anymore. He's proof that even when you win the job, you've already lost. The film ends with Mantu celebrating his first day of work, alone, in a massive factory run entirely by machines, no coworkers, no human presence, just him and the hum of automation. Meanwhile, at home, Miri listens to Riwon playing cello, finally allowing her family to hear her play. The dogs have returned. Siwon is hanging out with Jeonho. The family has money again, but at what cost? So here's what No Other Choice is about: the illusion of choice under capitalism. Mantu believes he's making active decisions. He's taking control of his destiny. He's refusing to be a victim. But the film reveals that he never had real choices. The system, corporate buyouts, automation, economic inequality created the conditions where murder becomes a rational option. And the part that makes the film so disturbing is that we actually understand him. Not because we'd murder for a job, but because we understand desperation. We understand what it's like when the system fails you and your expertise becomes worthless overnight. When providing for your family becomes impossible through legitimate means. The film doesn't execute Mantu's actions, but it asks, what happens to morality when survival is on the line? What happens to good people when economic systems just push them to the edge? Although humans want to help others, be nice, and fight for what's right, ultimately, we must be selfish sometimes to ensure we put ourselves and our families first. That's not a moral statement, and that's just an observation about how desperation can wrap our priorities. Mantu didn't start as a killer. He started as a loving father, a dedicated employee, a man who played by the rules. But then the rules failed him, and in the absence of ethical options, he created his own. Park Chan-wook's genius is showing us that the real villain isn't Mantu. It's a system that made murder seem like the only path forward. It's the automation that replaced workers. It's the corporate buyouts that destroyed livelihoods. It's the economic structure that tells people their value is tied to their productivity, and then it makes them obsolete. No Other Choice is a dark comedy, a thriller, and a horror film about 2025 because this isn't science fiction, it's actually happening right now. What would you do in Mantu's position? Could you resist, or would you justify it step by step until murder becomes unthinkable?